Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
All right, so let's talk about this Twitter takeover real quick with Elon Musk. Well, I mean, I think we've witnessed a lot of changes happen to Twitter since he did the takeover. And I think his mission right now is committed towards creating a channel that is completely of free speech, whether we feel like that's attainable or not. And that's really my question. But we witnessed he laid off thousands of Twitter employees. He bought Twitter for about $44 billion, which he funded through via the Saudis. So that's an interesting point as well. Really didn't leverage any of his own. He leveraged, but not with his own money. We saw that he's now permanently banning people that are doing parody accounts without saying that they're parodies, or if they're impersonating another person or an entity, they could get banned completely. And we saw that happen to Kathy Griffin. Blue check marks now, the verified marks, which I never really understood anyway. I always thought you had to be a celebrity to get one. But now they're charging $8 a month for verified check marks. And I think Jesus Christ now has a verified check mark. Whoever Jesus is on Twitter. And we all know Trump got his Twitter access back as well. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Is it up to Elon to take us to the moon when it comes to free speech? Or, should he hold on this idea that he can really create a network that allows everyone to say what they feel like saying or want to say?
So this is a very interesting one because actually, I won't try to spend too much time on it, but I think that the perception of why he did it, maybe he wanted to do a little clout, maybe he wanted to show off a little bit and flex, but like when it comes to like the business strategy of Twitter, it's not a good business strategy. It's a losing business strategy. Yes, there probably was some thoughts about free speech in there, but ultimately it's a huge platform that rivals the Instagrams and the TikToks. But the only thing about it is that it is not monetizable. It's very and that means like people can't really make money on that platform. So I think at least from my understanding and some articles I've read, the attempt of making the blue check mark something you can purchase is to try to make it monetizable. I mean, I own some shares of Twitter, and even when you kind of read into their like business earning reports, they haven't made money in like 3-4 years. They're not a company that makes money. They have venture capitalists that pour money into them, so they haven't really been a thriving business. They're this name that we all know, but they don't actually make money. And if you don't make money, it's hard to bring, keep employees going and bring other people to the platform. So, I mean, the main thing I'm just trying to emphasize is like, yeah, there's this whole mindset of like, yeah, maybe he was focused on the free speech part, but it is a huge platform that has the ability to make money. And I think that's more what he's focused on, bringing other people back that's like Trump and stuff like that. Yeah, he's trying to hook up his buddies. But ultimately, the blue check mark thing, all that other stuff, like the little changes he's trying to do is actually trying to help the business be sustainable, because the truth of the matter is Twitter is truly not sustainable.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting because you mentioned like how Twitter's not doing well. Like, I mean, I think I read somewhere they are losing $4 million a day,
yeah.
Which is insane, right? So, which in a way, like, and I heard actually they might file bankruptcy, Chapter 11, which I guess in a way justifies. I mean, I think trying to justify, some of the reason why they laid off 3,700 people, 3,750 people, which is a lot, But I mean, but like, I guess the notion and the goal to allow freedom of speech, I think it's a noble cause, because, we've seen a lot of things going on around nowadays where people are getting canceled for things they say or even for their beliefs. So, I mean, having a platform in the midst of many other plethora of platforms that's really focuses on people's freedom of speech and doesn't judge you, I know this obviously this don't come with those bad apples, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
gonna take advantage of it, which we see nowadays, even prior to Elon buying Twitter or even any other social media platform. This is something that we constantly deal with. So I mean, for me, I think it's a dope idea. I want to see how really the end goal is vision. I don't really know what his end goal is. I'm sure it's not really a business decision. I'm sure this is not was not a cow like a money cow decision because
Mm-hmm.
it was not. I mean, like you said, it was not a it's not a profitable business. When he took over, so his effort is to trying to clean this up, make it whatever vision he has, which I'm in full support and see where we end. So for example, someone like me, or even who love Kanye, I want Kanye to be able to express himself and
He got his account back.
go crazy, right? Go crazy,
Yeah.
Kanye.
Go crazy.
Go crazy.
And he will. He don't need your prompts.
I don't need him to get a
Yeah.
30-day in jail on IG. I want him to go crazy.
So,
So yeah,
I think
that's
it's
how I feel.
interesting. I know that there's not really the intention of the intention of the question, but I think we accidentally stumbled on a really important topic here, is freedom of speech and how we basically define that. Because with Twitter, right, and the purpose of why a sub purpose of why he bought it is because there's so much emphasis or there's so much importance on having, unrestricted speech. And but we live in this world where there is this dynamic of hate speech, right? So freedom of speech, in a sense, doesn't truly exist because there's always the potential that you'll be saying something that is maybe considered hateful or spiteful to another group.
Right.
Now, and this is also very dangerous because it is devolved of any form of understanding or lack of education on that person that makes that statement, right? So maybe someone can say something malicious towards a specific group that understands that they're saying something malicious, but there could be other people who say something accidentally because they're uneducated on the topic. But now that person is canceled. So I don't know. I think the overall thing with Elon, everybody knows his name is so catchy. Oh God, it's the Tesla guy. He's wild and crazy. Oh my God,
He's rich.
Yeah, I mean, he's rich. Yeah, he's the richest
Rich
man in
as
the
hell.
world. I mean, he walked into Twitter HQ with a freaking sink, and he thinks he's funny. He's like, oh, let it sink in, whatever he said. So I think all that overshadows the fact that one, he may be actually trying to do a well-purposed thing by buying Twitter and trying to keep it open and keep it sustainable and making sure that people have the ability to speak their mind. And I think that's how true conversations are going to come. If I say something you don't like, you say something you don't like, we clash it and we talk about it and we work it out. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I would to say, shout out to D-Black dropping all those 4-year university words out there. You know what I mean? This man got his bachelor's and his master's and his master's. But
His PhDs.
those PhDs. But
PhDs.
definitely.
I'm a PhD.
Great points there. And, I think the tricky part is, protecting against, of course, like libel and slander, like things like that. Like every system needs a checks and balances, right? Like can't just have people out there running wild. And as far as the point as, having those right people have those right conversations, that's always been the issue when it comes to progress. It's just that you never have the right people in the room at the right time saying the right things. And I do agree, like there should be an outlet for people to speak their minds, but there has to be some responsibility with it. So like the idea that a completely free speech channel will exist, I think not without some type of checks and balances, because I mean, leave it to us, and I'm not saying black people, but the general civilian public, you'll have another insurrection after insurrection after insurrection. And it's just like, it really does matter who's saying what, how it's being said, and who's delivering it, because we know there's a ripple effect when it comes out to the public. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I mean, but ultimately, I think, yeah, when people start like attacking people and making there are different type of conversation and different type of comments. So I understand, the notion of limiting those type of tweets and stuff like that, because it is dangerous, right? You don't want to, embark in a civil war because of people engaging in, rallying this left or right wing, people based on their, just beliefs and or whatnot. So I get that. So yeah. So I think there has to be, those type of conversation has to be, it's kind of safeguard from the society. How does he do that? I don't know. But the notion just of us just having a platform to just have conversation, even regardless if we agree or disagree with it, I think it's a good place to start, and we can obviously modify it as we go and see how things change over time.
Facts. I think he should do, and he can, give me a little percentage. Just if anybody wants to do some hateful speech, charge him for it. You know what I mean? Like, all right, where you want to say that N-word? $50. You know what I mean?
That actually might be a
slur.
golden nugget right there, bro. You know what I mean? If you like,
$60.
yo, you want to drop? Imagine as the black community, we own that junk. We charge it. Hey, that's our reparations right there.
Charge
That's
him.
funny.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
For every you want to say the
solve
N word,
problem.
fine. For every N word, $100 goes right into our, and we split that. All of us.
That's a sale. I'll take it.
$100. That's it.
That's it. No repercussions. Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so let's move to the next one. Up there with Kanye, we now got Kyrie Irving, as he's been suspended at place for the Nets. He's been suspended for a few games. He was actually given this whole laundry list of things to do to kind of, I guess, redeem himself in a sense, or show that he's truly apologetic for. And what happened here is he referenced a book called Hebrews to Negroes by Ronald Dalton Jr. And I actually purchased the book. I did not get a chance to read through it fully or get to the point where, supposedly this book went into an anti-Semitic rant or, to capture that. But as we know right now, there are petitions out, celebrity petitions at that, being made to get the book delisted off of like Amazon and other merchant sites where it's listed currently for sale and consumership. I mean, like, what's your guys' take? Either they went a little too hard on Kyrie on this, or, I'll even start off on this one myself, like having delved into the book a bit. I just kind of feel like at this point it's going a little overboard. Like, and I think in a public service announcement that the gentleman Ronald Dalton made, he indicated like, how can he be anti-Semitic if he himself is a Hebrew or Israelite? And that's a great point there, and that goes back into biblical times as well, as far as defining who the people of God are, who the people of Israel are, understanding that they were of mixed races. I think when we think of Hebrews, it's traditionally fed to us that it's an ethno-religious point of view where they're primarily white. So it's just like the fact that people of color are not captured in this time, I believe is, a great question. But I think to cancel an entire book or film for that purpose my thing is like, how can you cancel something that you have not consumed? You know what I mean? My thing is, instead of just kind of riding the wave, actually get into the book, identify where you feel it is anti-Semitic, and then maybe make an argument. But if you have not actually consumed it or read it or got the details on it, how can you just run off of what everybody else is saying? So to me, that's a concern. If somebody wants to reference a book in a way that's low-key censorship, and it's just like, to me, I just think that's really unfair.
Yeah, for me, here I go again. I'm sure people are gonna be like, Francis, always for the people. Yes, I'm for the culture, man. I'm for freedom of speech. I'm for people to have the ability to express themselves. Like to your point, Glenn. I actually also purchased the book not the book, the movie actually on Amazon. I haven't actually started it yet, but I'm intrigued. I think it's a really interesting conversation because, really I've never really thought about it until this conversation started coming up. It's like, okay, Adam and Eve. So where did we all separate it? Where did all this how did we all break apart into the different races that we are today? Kind of like diving into some of those history of it. And the book, I think, is a good start for people like myself who never really, I guess in a way, kind of done like a deeper internal examination about some of those questions, right? So for me, and especially the list that it gave, Kyrie to before he can play play basketball again, I think it's ridiculous. Like the guy ended up apologizing, and one thing that I don't like that the media is doing is trying to portray him to be this menace, like this just crazy, always trying to push the limit, selfish, and I really I struggle with that notion that they're trying to like this paint they want to paint him to be this person they want to paint him to be, because I know that's not truly who he is. He's a person who's curious, who's a knowledge seeker, trying to answer questions for himself that he has. So yeah.
What's good? It's your homie G with the Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast, extending a major thank you